Welcome to the podcast, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business by Coach James Short. This podcast is designed to help you with strategies, insights, and ways to increase sales, build and lead high-performing teams, and ultimately grow your business. Your host, James Short himself, also shares some of his secret sauces on how he helps his own clients achieve business growth quickly and easily. James has been coaching those in the real estate and property industry for close to 10 years now, and his clients keep on saying, since working with James, their results have been outstanding, giving them more money, time, and fulfillment. James is offering a free strategy call to those listening to see how he can assist you to take your business to where you want to go. Simply go to jamesshort.com.au/strategy and book in a time today. Now on with the show.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, and welcome to another episode. We are pumped. We are excited. We are so grateful to have this next guest on the show. Bobby Haeri from the Investors Agency. This guy is a freak of nature. Some of the stuff that he's been doing for his clients is phenomenal, and we're so honored to have him on the show today because he's a busy man. He's been traveling around Australia, putting deals together for his clients, and he's been running the Investors Agency for a number of years now. And over the last couple of years, he's just been really taken off. Even in downturn markets, what he's noticing is that there's always an opportunity. There's always, it's not just the capital city markets. It's looking at outside the square and looking at some key metrics and measurables. And so if you're looking at to look at how to put an edge on your business or how to provide an added service, definitely chat to Bobby because he's the man of the moment, and so honored and privileged to have him on the show today. So let's get him on. Bobby, mate, welcome.
Hey, what an intro! Thank you, James, for having me. Excited to be here.
Pleasure. Now, mate, you've been in the industry for a number of years, both for yourself, investing and buying and selling, and through other businesses as well. But I want to go back to the start. Like, what got you interested in the real estate space, and where did that journey begin for you?
Okay, so it began about 9 years ago. My sister and I were working full time, but still living with my parents.
Yep.
And we were wasting all our money. And my dad, as you do when I think we were 18, 19, at that age, wasting all our money. And my dad sort of said, now that you're working full time, you either need to start paying him rent, or we need to move out and pay rent, or he's going to buy us our first investment property and we pay the mortgage.
Right.
So obviously we took the latter one.
Yep. Wise choice.
Easiest option and obviously the most profitable option. So that's when we first got into property about 9 years ago. Yep. And from there, I got the itch ever since then, and I've been going. So I settled on my last property in November.
Right.
Started 9 years ago, and was going all the way in between. So that's where it started from.
So tell us about the Investors Agency. So what intrigued you to start that, and I guess who are you helping at the moment?
So the Investors Agency started about a year ago, and it started from, I have two landscaping companies that are quite established.
Yep.
They got 8 staff and they tick over on their own. They look after themselves. And I thought that's the dream, right? That's what we all want, to have a business that doesn't require our time. But very quickly I started I started getting anxious and going down a negative spiral, and I didn't really have a purpose.
Yeah.
So that's where the Investors Agency started from. I've always been obsessed with property. So even with the landscaping companies, I only ever looked at them as a vehicle to allow me to do what I wanted to do for property. It was, if I can grow the companies to this much, then I can continue investing. And that's how I sort of saw my landscaping companies. So when I realized that it wasn't for me, the having all the spare time and sort of sitting around and doing nothing, when I realized that wasn't for me, the Investors Agency started.
Love it.
It's a buyer's agency I started it purely to help investors.
Yep.
But I've also picked up a few clients on the northern beaches for owner occupier only.
Got it. Okay.
And the reason why I would only do owner occupier on the northern beaches is because there's a lot more groundwork that's required for owner occupiers. Whereas for investors, it's all numbers, it's all research based. You do all your legwork at the office by your computer, and you just go and inspect the property and get the building report to see it is what they say it is.
Got it. So true. And it is true because it's a different type of clientele in relation to the emotional component. With the investors, it's just like, it just shows the numbers. With owner occupier, it's just like, oh, I don't know, the light and this looks a little bit off or that. So it's a whole different spectrum, isn't it? And that's why
100%.
I guess you specialize in just that area for owner occupier.
Yeah. Well, like, to give you an example, I've got a young couple at the moment with first home buyers, and we're trying to find them their forever home. Well, not forever. They're going to live there for five years or so. But it's an owner occupier. I've gone through about 35 inspections for them. I've done probably 100 letterbox drops. I've made over 100 phone calls, and it's taken 4 months so far, and we haven't found them the right property. Yeah. Out of the 30 inspections, I've only put one forward to them because the other 29 wasn't suitable. Wow. And on that one property, we gave an offer in over the guide. Someone came and offered 60 grand more. So we said, my job is to say, look, it's a property that you like, but we can't pay 60 grand more for it. For an $800,000 property, you can't go and pay 60 grand more.
So true. I mean, just look at that into perspective. And this is where I sort of segue into the next question of why would people utilize the services, both on the investor side, but also the owner occupier side? And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, like, looking at all those inspections, all those phone calls, all that running around. But why, in your words, why do people, let's look at the investor side of things first. Why do people come in and seek your services?
Well, the first thing is lack of time, right? So many people are time poor. We're working longer, we're working harder. We just don't have the time to do the legwork that unless you're not working, you don't have the time to do that sort of legwork. Secondly is all the off-market properties that we have access to. So we get the agents that come to us before any of the properties actually go on the market. And they say, look, Bobby, we're putting a listing on in 1 month time. What's on your database? If our clients are ready to sell, if you have a buyer, let's get it done. And in some of the hot, like the eastern suburbs, northern beaches, and inner west, where there's a lot more demand, about 30% of the property gets sold prior to going to the market. Yeah. So they're the two. So two things would be time, off market, and for the investors, it's people wanting to invest but not knowing. They only know their backyard. So
that's really important.
Not knowing how to diversify, and even in 2018 when we had apparently the biggest crash since the GFC, we were buying in markets that were going upwards. So you only hear about Sydney and Melbourne, but there's always markets that are moving.
And that's why I want to go explore that a little bit more, because, we were chatting during last week, and like some of the properties that you're finding for clients where, like, so true, it's outside of majority of people's backyard. It's looking elsewhere. And if you look at the pattern of Australia, there's always an upswing. There's always an upcycle of a market, even in a micro market. Is like, what are some of those, I guess, those properties that are outside of the big capital cities that you're getting some great results? Obviously not addresses, but just examples of some of the potential there.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing we do with our clients is we work out what their strategy, what their goal is, and we put I guess where we differ from other buyers agencies, we don't just copy paste. We don't just tell all our buyers to go buy in this suburb. If someone's on $300,000 per year, they're going to be buying something different to someone who's on $60,000 per year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, someone might have a $100,000 passive income target. They're going to need a different goal to someone who wants a $300,000 passive income target.
Got it.
So the first thing we do for our clients is work out what their end goal is, how much passive income they want. Yep. And then based on their age, their income, we know exactly how many properties they need and what sort of rental return they need from each property. So last week, for example, we were in Brisbane trying to find a few properties for some clients who wanted to add to their income. So positively geared properties. We were finding some properties where 7.5% rental yield, 7% rental yield. To put that into perspective, so to put that into perspective, it was like mid $300,000, $350,000, $360,000 houses, and the rental return is $520 per week, $530 per week.
Phenomenal.
And you can even so we're working with the town planners now. Some of those properties you can even do a granny flat at the back.
Wow.
So that's going to increase it to another $250 a week rent. So those sort of properties are, they were 20 minutes from the CBD, in a growth corridor, very low vacancy rates, high rental yields, and they're the properties we're helping our clients find that want to add to their income.
Yep.
But then we've got other clients who are on super high income, so we're going to be finding them real blue chip properties 5 kilometers from the CBD. So it's all sorts of stuff.
All depends. It really, and as you said, that's what I love is looking at the strategy, because it's not just, all right, this whole group, no matter what your strategy is, you go into that bucket. It's like, no, let's get personalized and let's get really clear on what is the end outcome, and let's reverse engineer that back on the specific requirements for each client, which is fantastic. I love it. What do you notice is, what do you find, why don't people utilize buyer's agency services? What do you think is the misconception out there in the market and the hesitations of why people don't use buyer's agents?
Great question. Sorry, my phone was just going nuts. Yeah, great question. I think the biggest thing is it's not common for people to use buyer's agents in Australia. So in America, 100% of people use buyer's agents. If you want to buy a house, you go to a buyer's agent. If you want to sell a house, you go to a real estate agent. And it makes sense, right? Because real estate agents are phenomenal at what they do. They're very, very good at what they do, but their job is to sell the house at the highest price.
Yeah.
And if you're going in and you're trying to negotiate against an expert whose job is to work against you, it just makes no sense to do that with no experience or no professional help.
So true.
So that's the number one thing. People just don't have that mindset, but I think that's changing. I think when I started the buyer's agency, there was about 250. I think now there's about 1,000 in Australia.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Wow. Okay. So there's a whole lot of education that's, and education of the industry and the market that's changing as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And to put it into perspective, there's 70,000 real estate agents in Australia.
Got it.
So if we're going to go anywhere like what America is, and there's going to be the same amount of buyer's agents to real estate agents, then it's going to be an industry that's going to take off dramatically.
Yeah, so true, so true.
So that's probably the biggest thing, mate. It's people don't have that mindset. Why would I pay you to find me a house? I can do it myself.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the upside, right, and the savings that people get when they utilize, your services. It's phenomenal. It's like, one, if you put in, your time and resources of just looking at it, but then the negotiating skills of a professional like yourself that can go in and go in a bat against the real estate agents, where it's like game on. I'm here to represent you, the buyer, and we're going to get the best deal for you. And so therefore you've got the skills and you've got the know-how and you've got the knowledge to go and represent your clients at the pinnacle level. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the fee is minimal when you compare it to the savings and the time. And if you're looking for an investment, ideally, forget about the savings and the time. We're buying in an area that's going to go up as opposed to flatline.
Yes.
So the savings is completely it's yeah.
So true. Love it. Love it. Okay, cool. So what's coming up for you? What do you see for yourself, the business and the market over, say, the next 12 months to 24 months? So you got your crystal ball out?
Crystal ball. Well, if you had asked me last year what I thought of the market of Sydney, I would have said we're going to have, several years of flatline.
Yep.
I was wrong. It's just gone completely nuts.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So it's hard. It's really hard to tell. However, as I said before, there's always markets that are moving upwards, and we look at population, infrastructure, supply and demand, economic changes, a whole heap of stuff we look into, and there are markets which have really, really positive outlook. And even in the Sydney market, the affluent areas, there's very little supply, and people still have the money to spend.
Yeah.
So the affluent areas, and as we've seen now, we've had a very strong spike in house prices in the affluent areas, and that's because there's no supply and people have money.
Yep.
We're recommending most of our clients to buy in Brisbane.
Yep.
Whereabouts in Brisbane depends on how much they can afford.
Cool.
The reason for that is historically Brisbane's moved counter-cyclically to Melbourne and Sydney over the past 40 years.
Yep.
And it pretty much hasn't moved in 8 years.
Right. Okay.
And the difference is now net migration, interstate migration in Brisbane is the highest it's ever been.
Yeah, right.
Unemployment's going down. So there's all these triggers, and we've
Yeah.
had several years of flatline. It's just sort of primed to have really strong growth over the next, 7 or 8 years.
Fantastic, mate. That's awesome.
So that's in terms of the markets, very vaguely. In terms of the business itself, I'll be looking to take someone on board this year.
Right.
And I guess the long-term plan is, I'll be looking to get an office in, I'm not sure, maybe 12 to 24 months. And, I do want to get a team behind me and grow the business.
Love it.
I'm all for, I feel like as a business owner, if you're working for yourself, you're really just an employee.
Yeah.
I feel like to be if you want to be a business owner, you've got to have a team behind you.
And that's what I love, because you've got your other businesses. So you know that the mindset of the entrepreneur business owner, it's not just, this is a cool thing. No, it's like you've grown other businesses before and they're still running without you. And this is just another addition to real estate, to property, that you can add massive value with, your years of research, your years of knowledge, to really add that extra level for your clients and run it as a business that's really scaled for growth, helping your team, and also to make a difference to your clients. So it's fantastic.
Thank you, mate.
Where can the listeners go and find out more and reach out and connect?
The best place would be my email address, bobby@theinvestorsagency.com. I'm on all the socials as well. However, I've deleted all the socials off my phone because it drives me nuts. So I'm on there, and I do go on when I need to. Normally once a day I'll check in. But email is probably the best way to get in touch with me, and you'll find my phone number and everything on all the socials and whatnot.
Fantastic. Guys, go and check it out, theinvestorsagency.com, or send him an email, bobby@theinvestorsagency.com. He's always willing to help, always willing to serve, provide amazing knowledge and insight for all your property needs. If you're looking to invest Australia-wide, or even your owner-occupier place on the northern beaches of Sydney, reach out, and he's more than willing to help. Mate, Bobby, really appreciate your time, energy, and insights for today.
Mate, thank you so much for having me, James. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.